unit 3, which will be purely dedicated for the control parameters, that is converter and HVDC system control. So these are the contents of the today's presentation. The principles of we are going to discuss about the outline of all these parameters, aspects, that principle of DC link control, converter control characteristics, system control hierarchy, firing angle control, current and extinction angle control, starting and stopping of DC link, power control, higher level controllers, and finally with the control of VSC based HVDC link. Let me going to emphasize more towards the control characteristic and the control characteristics and system control hierarchy. Okay, so we know that the purpose of the HVDC transmission, that is it is supposed to required to transport a very large amount of electrical power. It is a very basic purpose of the HVDC transmission, and also we might be aware about that there are several significant developments are happening in the high voltage direct current technology, and also we are having a number of applications. So with this, so the HVDC system is supposed to be how the HVDC system should be, because of the several significant development, and also there will be a several important purpose of transmission of very high electrical power. Obviously the system will be a complex one, so definitely we should have a HVDC system to be highly controllable system. That is a very important objective why we are supposed to go with the converter and HVDC system control. So we need a HVDC system, and that is to be highly controllable system because of various reasons. So then only it is possible for us to achieve the system requirements, and we can also achieve the proper control in the HVDC link. Okay. So in this today's lecture, we will discuss about the basic principles and converter control, and also we will discuss about the outline of the HVDC system control. Okay. So the most important and most significant advantage we are having with the let me go with the introduction first. What is the need, why we have to go for control of HVDC converter and system as a whole. The very important the benefits are given here. As we know that the HVDC system will be having most significant advantages, that it will be having an inherent ability of a DC link, which we have already discussed in the unit 1 under the technical performance. Okay, there are so many technical performance of the HVDC system. So this is it is having an inherent ability of a DC link. That is, it can have an ability to control the power flow. That is a very important requirement, and also the power to be transmitted can also be varied. In the case when we discuss about the AC system purely, the power transfer will be purely depends upon the system conditions. But when we are speaking about transmission system, the by changing the voltage across the converter bridge. Okay, and that too it has to be happen at a very faster rate. Okay, so when we have the control of the DC power, when we have the controllability of the DC power, then it will be served for the different purposes. What are the different purposes? I have listed some of the purposes of controllability of the DC power. The one is the stabilization of the connected AC network. One is control of frequency of sending and receiving end voltage, and third one will be the control of reactive power and AC voltage. So what is meant by the stabilization of the connected AC network? Because we know the mechanism of the AC power transmission, in which the power will be purely depends on the delta. Okay, that is the phase angle between the sending end and the receiving end voltage. And this particular delta value will be purely depend upon the distance also. That is, delta value increases with increase in the distance. But in the case of DC system, DC transmission system, it is not affected by the distance. Only we will have some thermal limitations, but it does not depends upon the distance. Okay, so that was then speaking about the control of frequency of sending and receiving end voltage. We know that the old. Yes, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Because speaking about the control of frequency of sending and receiving end voltage, we know that the voltage control in AC lines are supposed to be quite complicated. It will become a complicated task, and the reason will be that there will be a variation. Normally, there will be a variation. The voltage will be happens because of certain reasons like line charging, or there will be inductive voltage drops, and also there will be a change in the voltage profile because of the line loading. There are so many situations will be come into the picture. And also the third parameter is control of reactive power and AC voltage. Due to the controllability of the DC power, we can also serve the third purpose also. Because we have with the controllability of DC power means we are going to maintain a constant voltage. So because of that reason, we can also minimize the reactive power consumption. Okay, so these are all the needs why we are supposed to get into the control of HVDC converter and systems. And before getting into in the detailed discussion, we will have just have a quick recall about this particular basic mechanism of AC power transmission. That these are all some of the basic set of equations we might be aware about. The first one is the active power transmission of AC link is given here. Here it will be very clear that the AC power transmission purely depend upon the value of the delta. That is the phase angle between the sending end and the receiving end voltage. Okay, and also other two set of equations are also given here. Which is also mainly representing the reactive power expression of the sending end and the receiving end voltage. But when you look into these equations, when you look into this reactive power equations, we can able to come into a conclusion that this active power will be purely depends upon the magnitude of the voltages. They are purely highly depends upon the magnitude of the voltage, and they are not, they will be, I can say that we can that this particular reactive powers are slightly influenced by the angle delta. Okay, so these are all some of the basics already we might be aware about. So now let us get into the basic means of control. What is the need, or why we are supposed to have the control, and which is the parameter to be controlled, so that we can maintain a constant DC voltage in the HVDC link. Okay, so already you might be know about the typical HVDC system. So I have not given the structure of the HVDC system. Hope it might be discussed in the previous lectures. So based upon taking into the consideration of the typical HVDC system, I'm now conveniently representing the particular equivalent circuit for the steady state. Okay, the first figure, this particular figure will be representing the HVDC equivalent circuit of the two-terminal DC link, and this particular second picture will depicts the voltage profile of this particular equivalent circuit. Okay, so definitely this particular equivalent circuit will be representing the combined. It's a combined equivalent circuit which involves both rectifier and the inverter stations. So we can call it as a total equivalent circuit. Okay, and in order to arrive this equivalent circuit, there are certain assumptions to be made. Let me summarize the assumptions. That all the series connected bridges should be identical, and also they have the same delay angles. That is very important assumption to be followed for arriving this particular equivalent circuit. All the series connected bridges should be identical, and also it should have the same delay angles, might be alpha or gamma, and also the number of series connected bridges should be same in the either on the rectifier side or on the inverter side. Okay, these are the two important assumptions to be followed for arriving this particular equivalent circuit, and the corresponding voltage profile has been clearly depicted in the figure B. Okay, so the left hand side will be indicating the rectifier station, and the right hand side will be indicating the inverter station. So these are RC1, R, and RC2 are supposed to be the equivalent resistances of the rectifier, inverter, and the transmission line, etc., which has been clearly predicted here. So the very important parameter to be discussed here is the current. The current and the DC link, it's indicated here. The current as a DC link in the steady state, how we can compute that current in the DC link? Very simple. It is with the help of the Ohm's law we can able to arrive this current in a DC link. Okay, simply by I is equal to V by R with the help of the Ohm's law. Difference in the See here, the expression of the direct current is given here. It's a very simple relationship showing that the voltage, the ratio between the voltage upon the resistance. The voltage might be the difference in the terminal voltage. Okay, VD1 minus VD2. So by incorporating the equivalent circuit of the rectifier and the inverter, we can utilize the internal voltages. This particular, so now I am replacing this particular voltages with its internal voltage includes commutation drops also. Okay, so these are the DC line voltages for the rectifier and the inverter to be controlled. This voltages can be controlled by varying the value of the delay angles. It is possible for us to control this particular DC line voltages. So the DC line voltage of both rectifier and inverter can be controlled with the help of delay angle or by the delay angle. Alpha is the delay angle or by the extension angle. Okay. Or also we can also control these particular voltages with the help of the tappings which has been provided on the transformer on either side of the DC line. Okay. So these are requirement. So this is the very basic requirement, basic means of control. So the very important parameter is we are considering here as a direct current, and it is supposed to be the difference of the internal voltages upon the resistance, and it could be controlled by varying the delay angle or the extinction angle. Okay. So from this equation, from this particular equation, it is very clear that there is a control or a change in the current happens. Definitely because of that, there will be a power transfer could be controlled or achieved in the DC link, either by varying the value of alpha, the control angle of the rectifier. Alpha is the control angle of the rectifier, or by varying the control angle of the inverter, might be beta or gamma. And also we can, this particular internal voltages can be varied with the help of the transformer secondary winding with the help of the tap changes on either side of the DC link. Might be it is a rectifier side or it will be a inverter side. Okay, and it is very clear that this particular current at the link will be depends upon the voltage drop divided by the resistance. And the important point to be discussed here is, so normally these particular resistance values are very small and it is also fixed one compared when we compare this particular value with the reactances. Okay, so when this particular resistance values are small or it will be fixed, then it is very clear that this particular current flowing in the DC link will be purely depends upon the difference of the internal voltages. This is the point to be stressed here. Okay, as the resistance values are supposed to be fixed or it might be small, then it is very clearly depicted that this particular current in the DC link will be purely depends upon the difference of the internal voltages. So ID is controlled. This particular current will be controlled by controlling the voltages, this particular internal voltages, which in turn purely depends upon the variation in the value of the alpha or gamma or tap changing of the transformers. Okay. So because of this reason, I can say that current is very sensitive to the change in the voltages, which is supposed to be very important. Okay, the control of current. So here we are supposed to achieve the control of current, hence the power in the DC system, hence the power also to be controlled. So this is the fine basic. This is a fine basic and how we are supposed to achieve the control in the DC link, and which is to be the parameters to be considered and what are the parameters to be varied. Okay, so now let us move on to the principles of DC links, or either we can say it as a principle of DC links, or we can also say that what will be the necessity and what are the aspects of the control mechanism. So this might be a summarize. This will be a summary I have given here, which will deliberate the necessity of DC link control, or also it will also explains the desirable aspects to be followed in the control mechanism. Okay, so the first one is the control of power in a DC link can be achieved through the control of current, which we have discussed in the basic means of control. And looking into the minimization of loss in this particular standpoint, okay, so we have to maintain a constant current, constant voltage in the link that could be achieved with the help the adjustment or control the current, so that we can meet the required power. And With this, when we are supposed to maintain the constant voltage, then obviously what happens, there will be a voltage regulation. It will be very much helpful for the voltage regulation of the system, and it also indirectly reflects in the optimal utilization of the insulation. And the very important benefit is supposed to be the voltage drop on the DC line is always small. So because compared to that of the AC line, because the reason is there will be an absence of the reactive voltage drop. Okay. So now let us come into the desirable aspects. So how we have to operate? It is desirable to have current control at the rectifier station and constant extinction angle control at the inverter station. This seems to be the normal operating condition. Okay. So we have to do the current control at the rectifier station, and at the inverter station we have to do the constant extinction angle control. This particular scheme will be called as a normal operating condition. Okay. So what happens? So why we are supposed to have the current control at the rectifier station? It is desirable because it is highly desirable to have current control at the rectifier station, because the reason is, with this current control, the value of the alpha will be minimum. So because of that, there will be increase in the power in the link. The power will be get increased in the link. And because of that, the power factor is also low. There will be improvement in the power factor takes. Because of that reason, there will be a minimization of the reactive power consumption. So because of that reason only, we are supposed to have the current control at the rectifier station. Okay. And what will be happening? And also, why we are not using the current control on the inverter station? Because when we are supposed to adopt the current control on the inverter station, then it will definitely worsen the power factor, and it also leads to the losses. So that we are supposed to have the current control at the rectifier station. And also, this particular current control also having another benefit, that it will also helpful for the better voltage regulation also, and also it will also having a benefit of limiting the faults automatically. Okay, so these are all some of the reason why we are supposed to have the current control at the rectifier station. Okay. So now let us, and the second condition is, there will be a reduction of AC voltage at the rectifier. Sometimes happens. There will be a reduction in the AC voltage on the rectifier side will be happens. So in such case, what we have to do? There will be a transition will be takes place. We have to shift the current control to the inverter. So then only we can avoid the rundown of the DC link. Okay, so this is also possible. So because of this reason, what is required from this standpoint, it is very clear that the current controller must be also provided at the inverter side also, though it will be having certain issues to operate the inverter station at the current control mode, but there will be there to operate it in the current control mode, because of the such a situation that when there will be reduction in the AC voltage at the rectifier side. Okay, so from this standpoint, it is clear that we are supposed to have the current controller on the inverter side also, in addition to the CEA controller. And so this, because of the availability of both the controllers, that the current controller and current extinction angle controllers, there will be a smooth transition will be takes place. Okay, when this particular kind of situation will be takes place. But when the both controllers are available at one particular station, definitely there will be a clash will be happens. There will be a clash between the two controllers, so that it will definitely affect the effective operation, and also it will create some confusion selecting the modes of operation also. So in order to avoid that particular clash between both the controllers, what we have to do, we should have there will be a term called the current margin will be there. So always this current reference value at the inverter will be always kept below that of the rectifier current. Okay, this is the particular condition to be followed. So that term will be referred as a current margin. That is, it should be lies in the range of say 10% of the rated current. Always the current at the inverter side should be kept below 10% below than that of the rectifier current. Okay, so this should be followed. So then only we can avoid the clash between the two controllers, and there will be a proper selection of mode of operation will be ensured. Okay, and another situation will be there. There will be a power reversal will be takes place. There will be a reversal of power will be happens because of the reversal of the DC voltage. Okay, so how we can avoid this particular situation? That is also very important. Okay, so this could be achieved. This could be this particular power reversal is achieved by increasing the delay angle at the rectifier station and decreasing the delay angle at the inverter station. By doing this particular variation, we can also try have this particular power reversal. Okay, so from this standpoint, it is also necessary to have both the controllers. So from this discussion, it is very clear that either on the rectifier side or on the inverter side, we should have both the controllers, that is current controller and also the constant current controller and the constant extinction angle controller on either side of the DC links. Okay, so this is what the basic principle or desirable aspects to be followed for the DC link control. There are so many advantages are there when we are going for this particular control actions. The current order setting can be quick, it will be quick and also reliably. We can change it, and power reversal can be done easily, and also the fault current levels are also minimized to the rated values. There are so many advantages are associated with when we are supposed to get into this particular kind of converter control strategies. Okay. So now let us get into the very important aspect, that converter control characteristics. Okay, this particular figure will shows the characteristic between the DC voltage versus the DC current. It is a combined control characteristic of both the stations, station 1 and station 2. Okay, this particular type of operation is also clearly presented in this particular table. Okay, there are three different modes of operation: minimum alpha, constant current, and minimum gamma. And the regions are also clearly stated for two different stations. This is the particular characteristic curve for the station 1, and this is the curve for the station 2. Okay, so from the figure, it is supposed to be depicting, it is supposed to clearly indicating the characteristic of the station 1 and station 2 together. Okay, so from this, what we can observe here is there are three parts. The characteristic curve will be consisting of three parts. Okay, because of based upon the three different modes. Okay, so the important question will come into the mind that how we will decide the modes of operation. The thing is the intersection, the point at which the intersection of the two characteristic will be happening will define or determine the modes of operation. There are two different characteristics are there for the station 1 and station 2. When there will be the point at which the intersection of these two characteristics happens will define the modes of operation. It is very clearly indicated here that this particular intersection was happening at, this is the point A will be indicating the intersection of the two characteristics, which will defines the mode of operation. Here the mode of operation is supposed to be the constant current. Okay. Okay, so from that it is very clear that the point A is the intersecting point, which will determine the mode of operation. So the station 1 will be acting as a rectifier station, and the station 1 will be a rectifier station which will be operating in the constant current control, and station 2 will be operating in the constant extinction angle control. Okay. And it's also clear that there are three different modes of operation of the link. So, and from this, it is evident that there are three different modes of operation can be possible, or we can experience three modes of operation in the DC link with the same direction of the power flow. Okay, so now the question will be arise. Definitely the one question will be arise in everyone's mind, that how we will determine the point of intersection of the two characteristics. Okay, or which parameter will define or determine the point of intersection. If you look into the characteristic curve very carefully, it will be very clearly predicted that the voltage of the rectifier station, you can able to see these three different lines. Okay, AB, and this is somewhat reduced voltage, and this is again supposed to be the some voltage. So this particular the hands of the rectifier. the ceiling voltage of the rectifier will determine the point of the intersection. When there will be reduction in this voltage, see that the point of intersection will be get varies. Okay, see here for the AB, for this particular voltage level, the point of intersection will be A. If there is a further reduction in the voltage, then the point of intersection will be shifted to C. Similarly, we can also able to see the another point of intersection B. Okay, so the parameter which will be decides the point of intersection is nothing but the ceiling voltage of the rectifier. Okay. When there will be a reduction, in the voltage of the rectifier station, definitely there will be a shift in the point of intersection takes place. Okay, which is clearly predicted in the picture. So this is the normal mode of operation. What we have discussed now is suppose the current control mode is constant current control mode is supposed to be the normal operating mode. Okay, and suppose say let me suppose to discuss about the slight dip in the AC voltage. Sorry, slight dip in the voltage. Okay, what happens? Sudden dip in the AC side of the voltage. Okay, there will be a transformer will be there and everything on the so that in the equivalent circuit it is not clearly depicted those particular system. Okay, so when there will be a slight dip in the AC voltages, what happens? There's a point of intersection. Will be definitely there will be a reduction in the DC voltage, and obviously there will be a shift in the particular point of intersection happens. Okay, and further, if there will be a further reduction in the AC voltage happens at the rectifier side, then definitely here also there will you can also witness the reduction in the DC voltage. Okay, so what happens here? Definitely here we could able to witness that the point of intersection will be B. So it is clear that there will be a shift in the operating mode will be takes place. The mode of operation will be shifted to this particular point B, and because of this reduction in the voltage, what happens? There will be a smooth transition will be takes place from the current control to the current control between rectifier station to the inverter station will be witnessed here. Okay, so here when at the point A we can be able to witness that the current control will be happening at the rectifier station, but when there will be a dip in the voltage on the rectifier side, the point of intersection will be smoothly shifted from the station 1 to the station 2. Okay. So this is all about the control characteristic. Okay, and there will be a important point to be supposed to summarize convey here is this particular modes of the point of intersection or the mode of operation should be present in the first quadrant of this particular VI characteristic. That is very important restriction we have to follow. Okay, it should not be supposed to be moved to the another quadrant. We have to maintain that operation of this maintain this as a point of intersection or the mode of operation should be present in the first quadrant. That is one of the very important point to be noted down. Okay, so now let us move on to the next characteristic, the control characteristic for negative current margin. As I told that the current always the current reference of the inverter should be kept low or below the rectifier current value, which we have witnessed in the previous. But when you look into this particular control characteristic, we can able to see the negative current margin. It means that the inverter current reference will be higher than that of the rectifier current. Okay, that we can able to see here. Okay, but it is a prime requirement that we have to maintain the current reference of the inverter station to be less than that of the rectifier station, but here it is not the case. So that's why this negative current margin will be come into the picture. Okay, so in such case, what happens? See the shift, there will be a shift in the operating point. See the where the operating point will be located here. The point of intersection of these two characteristics will be happened at this particular point D. So that what happens? There will be a shift in the operating point will be takes place. Okay, so because of this, what happens? There will be a power reversal will be takes place. Okay, because the polarity, there will be a change in the polarity of the DC voltage. So definitely there will be a power reversal will be takes place because of such a kind of situation happens in the system. So from this also we can able to infer a very important point that we have to maintain the correct sign. We have to maintain the correct sign of the current margin. Okay, always the inverter current reference value should be kept below the rectifier current value. Otherwise, there will be a power reversal will be takes place. Okay, so this is also one of the important requirement which we are supposed to learn from the control characteristic. The first one is we have to restrict the current control region to be present in the first quadrant. Okay, and also we have to maintain the correct sign of the current margin so that we can avoid the power reversal. So these are all some of the adequate information we are getting from the control characteristic. So now let us move on to the modifications. Modification of control characteristic. The earlier slides and all we have discussed about the control characteristic and what are the importance we have discussed. But there are certain situations where we have to go for modifying the control characteristics. The one such situation is supposed to be the instability of the control. When there will be instability of control happens, then definitely there will be a hunting between the different modes of operation takes place. Okay. So how this particular switch? So in addition to the previous two requirements, now there are certain other requirements also there which has to be addressed properly. Okay. So if you look into this particular figure, see that the slope of the AB and FE are supposed to be, if the slope, there are two slopes as been indicated, that AB is the slope of the rectifier station and FE is supposed to be the slope of the inverter station. If this particular slope of AB and FE will be nearly equal, then definitely there will be a problem will be come into the picture, that it will give a poor definition of intersection of the point. Okay, that kind of problem will be there, which definitely disturbs the operating mode. And also if the slope of FE will be exceeds the value of AB, that particular situation shown here, the slope of FE will be exceeding the value of AB. Because of this particular case, see, we can able to witness the three different instability points, A dash and A double dash. Okay. So this particular problem to be addressed properly. So this is one of the reason why we are moving for the modification of the control characteristic. Okay. Now how we can eliminate this particular issue? How we can eliminate this particular instability issue? Okay, it could be possible. We can address this particular issue by modifying the inverter characteristic. By modifying the inverter characteristic, we could able to avoid this particular instability of control. Okay, so what we have to do? So we have to, as I told that, we have to modify the inverter characteristic. What kind of modification we have to takes place? Okay, the thing is we have to give by doing proper controls action, we have to give a positive slope. See, that could be given here. We have to give a positive slope to the current between these two values, ID1 and ID2, between the current margin. This particular, we have to maintain a positive slope in the inverter characteristic, by which we can avoid this particular instability issue. Or otherwise, we have to maintain a constant voltage between these current limits. Okay, either we have to maintain a positive slope or we have to go with the constant voltage, maintaining a constant voltage between these two current limits. Then we could able to overcome this particular instability of control. Okay, so how this could be possible? How we can able to make this positive slope, or we can able to maintain this constant voltage? So we have to have a proper control strategy by which we have to get this particular current error. We have to compute the we have to extract the value of the current error, and based upon the current error value, we have to do the variation in the gamma, by which this particular changes could be possible. Okay. Next, another important requirement of modification of control characteristic is voltage dependent current order limit, VDCOL. Okay, so what is the problem? The problem is there will be a possibility of low DC voltage in the link. This particular case will be happens when this particular thing will be happen, low DC voltage in the link. It is mainly occur due to the fault happening in the AC system on either side, either rectifier side or on the inverter side. Because of the fault happening on this particular on the both the sides, definitely there will be a problem of low DC voltage will be happens in the link. Okay, this particular thing has to be addressed properly. Okay, what will be the reason? What will be the reason on faults on the either side, rectifier side or inverter side? On the inverter side, if we speak about the inverter side, there is a possibility. There will be a possibility that there will be a commutation failure might be takes place. Okay, so during what happens, what we have to do during this particular situation, we have to reduce the DC current. Okay, we have to reduce the DC current when this particular situation occurs. Then definitely we have to reduce the DC current in the link. Okay, so but there is another problem is also there. When we are supposed to go for reducing the DC current, then that we have to maintain a proper limit. We should not go very low value of the current, because if you go with the very low value of current that is beyond the holding current, very less than that of the holding current, what happens? Obviously the all the devices, thyristor valves which will be associated with the inverter side will be supposed to be moved to the off position. Okay, so that kind of problem is also there. And when we are speaking about the rectifier side, what happens? This low voltage will be resultant due to the fault happening on the rectifier side also. So in such situation, what we have to do, we have to operate the inverter position to be operate at the low power factor. Okay, but this is also undesirable one, which leads to the high reactive power consumption. Okay, so in order to address this particular issue also, we have to modify the control characteristics. Okay, so which we can call it as a voltage dependent current order limit. Okay, so if you refer the figure, see that this, if you refer the figure CC dash, what happens? There will be reduction in the voltage. There will be reduction in the voltage. Because of that, what happens? The DC current, the ultimate objective is we have to reduce the, whenever there will be a reduction in the DC voltage due to fault condition, then we have to reduce the DC current. Okay, so because of the reduction in the voltage, we are about to reduce the DC current from ID. There will be reduction current happens from ID1 to, you can see this characteristic C to C dash, ID1 to ID1 dash linearly. Okay, then it will be maintained constant. Okay, and also we can also clearly witness here. This is the rectifier characteristic. When you look into the inverter characteristic, the inverter characteristic also follows the same characteristic, same as that of the rectifier characteristic, and it is also supposed to maintain the prescribed current margin. When there will be a proper current margin will be there, we are maintaining a proper or prescribed current margin, then this particular inverter characteristic will also follow the rectifier characteristic. Okay. So this particular event is also happens by which there will be a modification of the control characteristic should be takes place. So in this, so we have discussed about the various control characteristics. We have discussed the ideal characteristics and the normal mode of operation, which will be given by the point of intersection of the two characteristics. And also we have learned about the need for modification of the control characteristic. The two different instances are, one is the instability of the control, for which we have to go for modification, and also when there will be a fault on the AC side of the rectifier inverter side, it will result in low DC voltage. In such case, we have to go for reducing the DC current, by which there will be a modification of the control characteristic will be takes place. Okay. Now let us move on to the system control hierarchy. So the converter control is quite compared to the system control hierarchy, it will be quite easy process. But whenever coming to the system control hierarchy, the system control is supposed to be consisting of n number of components and the systems number of components associated with that, group of components associated with that. So the system control hierarchy is supposed to be a complicated task. Okay. So what is the purpose of the system control hierarchy? The system control hierarchy is mainly used for it is used to perform the control functions, various control functions which has been required or which has been required by the HVDC link. Okay. So before discussing the system control hierarchy, so we should know about what is the requirement, what is the ideal requirement of the control system, of which has to be used for the HVDC link. So these are all some, I have summarized some of the points which has to be normally required for the ideal control system of for a HVDC link. So one is the symmetrical firing of valves under the steady state condition. The second one is instant of firing of valves. and we should have a system which should minimize the consumption of reactive power, and there should be a normal variation in the voltage and frequency will be takes place, and also the control action should be supposed to be faster. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there is a noise is there, I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. One minute, sir. I'll unmute, sir.
Okay, sir.
Sir, you may proceed, sir. Hello, sir. Sir, now I unmuted, sir. Just to mute and proceed, sir.
கோபி அன்மியூட் பண்ணுங்க.
Sir, unmute பண்ணுங்க, sir.
Okay. Okay, hope now I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible.
Okay, sir. So this particular figure will shows the hierarchical control structure for a DC link. It is a very complex process. We cannot say that it is quite an easy process. It's quite that's why the name is given as system control hierarchy. Stages of control will be happened in the HVDC link, so that we are giving the name system control hierarchy. It is a complicated process, and it is mainly used to perform various control functions. There are so a number of parameters are there in the associated with the HVDC transmission system. So almost all these parameters to be addressed, or it should be controlled properly for the effective operation of the HVDC link. So that's why it will be given as a name system control hierarchy, and it will be having various number of stages. Okay, we will have a system control which is supposed to provide a power order for the system. From the power order will be given from the system controller, and also it will give certain other informations also, like AC voltage at the converter bus, and also DC voltage on the link, etc. So many information has been given to the master controller. Okay, and this master control will supposed to give the I reference, current order value, to the pole units. There are a number of pole units are there, and this particular pole unit will be having certain, it will also supposed to perform various functions like pole protection. It is also used to protect the DC line, and also there will be a optimal conversion of paralleling and deparalleling sequences are there, and there are so many operations are associated with the pole control also. Okay, and finally it will be supposed to give a proper firing logic, optical interfaces. So that's why we are calling it as a hierarchy. There are so many stages are there, and each and every stage is supposed to do certain control functions, so that we can ensure the effective operation of the HVDC link. In addition to that, also it is not depicted in the figure. There are certain other additional process also supposed to be carried out, like we have to avoid, there are certain protection also supposed to be provided by the control scheme, like commutation failure protection should be there. We have to properly take care of the tap changer operation, and also there will be a proper start and stop operation sequences of the converter should be ensured. And also there are so many, even we have to protect the thyristor walls with the help of the protective circuits, like we are having snubber circuits, etc. There are n number of associated control functions are related with this particular system control hierarchy. That's why I told that it is supposed to be a more complex operation. So coming to the next level of discussion, that we will have a firing angle control. There are so many control strategies are there, in which we are going to discuss now about the firing angle control. Here I have given a block diagram representation of the firing angle control of pole and converter controllers. Okay, in this particular picture, this is the control scheme, block diagram of the control scheme, where we can able to witness that there will be a presence of both the controllers are there. As I told earlier, that both the stations are provided with the constant current controller, and also the current constant extinction angle controller. So both the controllers are incorporated. Okay, but both the controllers will be generating the control signal. See, this is supposed to be the constant extinction angle control structure, and this is supposed to be the system for generating the constant current. So both based upon this, these two controllers, based upon the reference values, both the controllers will provide a control signal, but there will be a selector will be there. Here it is supposed to select a proper control signal. Based upon the mode of operation, this particular selector will select a proper control signal. Okay, based upon that only suitable firing angle will be generated with the help of the firing angle controller. Okay, so this is the very important structure which is supposed to helpful for generating the gate pulses. So gate pulses are generated with the help of this firing angle controller with the help of the selector, because selector will supposed to select a proper control signal. Based upon that only the proper there will be a generation of the gate pulse will be happens. And in addition to that, we are having the several basic firing schemes are there. Under the firing angle control, we are having two basic firing schemes. One is called as individual phase control, and another one is the equidistant pulse control. The individual phase control, under the individual phase control, as the name implies that it is an individual phase control. So we are going to generate the firing pulse for each phase independent to each other. That's why we are giving the name called individual phase control. Okay, and in this individual phase control, we are having two different ways by which we can achieve this individual phase control with the help of either with the help of the constant alpha control or with the help of the cosine control. So these are the two ways by which we can able to generate the gate pulses for each phase independent to each other. So this particular picture will depict the constant alpha control. Okay, you can able to witness that with the help of this particular scheme, we could able to generate the 6 voltages. 6 commutation voltages can be generated from the AC bus voltage through the voltage transformer. With the help via the voltage transformer, it is possible for us to have a 6 commutation voltages which has been generated, which has been derived from this particular AC converter bus. Okay, so now we are having a 6 set of pulse generator and identical pulses, but we have to give a proper delay. Okay, we have to give a proper delay with respect to the zero crossing. With the help of the zero crossing, we could able to give the proper delay to all the 6 pulses. Okay, so this particular delay, the particular delay will be given with the help of the delay circuit, and this delay circuit will be operated based upon the common control voltage. Okay, so because the main purpose of the delay circuit is supposed to provide a independent delay for the each and every gate pulses. So this particular concept is called as a constant alpha control. So here we are having a control voltage. This control voltage will be given to all the delay circuits so that we can able to generate the separate gate pulses. So next one is a cosine control of phase delay. So this is also one of the simple way of generating the gate pulses. Okay, so see here we are having here this crossing every delay circuit. As I told in the previous method, here also we are having a common voltage, common control voltage is there. It has been given to all the delay circuits for generating the gate pulses. When at what instant this particular gate pulse will be get generated, that is very important here. So the gate pulse will be get generated at the crossing point of the control voltage and the appropriate AC line voltage. You could able to witness here. Okay, you can able to witness here that this is the crossing point. This is the common control voltage which has been given to all the delay circuits, and there will be this is the crossing point where there will be where the control voltage and this line voltage will be crossing, and this particular instant at which there will be a generation of firing pulse will be takes place. Okay, and next one is supposed to be the equidistant pulse control. As the name implies, equidistant pulse control. Then here also we are going to generate the firing pulse with the equal interval. Between the firing pulse will be supposed to be equal. That's why we are giving the name called equidistant pulse control, and with the it will be done with the help of the ring counter, and the intervals will be supposed to be of 1 by Pf, where P is supposed to be the pulse number and F seems to be the frequency. So next is starting and stopping of DC link. There is this starting and stopping of the DC link. That is control. This is also a control strategy for energizing or de-energizing the HVDC link. Okay, here also there are certain common procedures to be adopted for starting and stopping of the DC link. Okay, so and this particular action should be done very rapidly. Okay, so for there are certain set of procedures are there. First, we have to deblock all the inverters. That is, we have to initiate the firing pulses, and then we have to deblock the rectifier. Okay, so these are all some of the procedures we have to adopted for starting of the DC link. And also similarly, when we are supposed to de-energize or stopping of the DC link, then we have to, it will be done with the help of the opening of a switch on the DC side of the converter station. By opening the switch, the picture is not depicted here, but anyhow we can able to understand that if you want to suppose to remove any circuit invariably from the service, then we have to open there will be isolator switches will be there, so we have to open the isolator switches on the DC side of the converter station, by which we can able to stop the DC link. And coming to the higher controllers, so as I told that the system control hierarchy will be having n number of control functions to be performed for the effective operation. So in addition to that existing current controller, constant current controllers, constant excitation angle controllers, there are several other auxiliary controllers are associated with the HVDC system. Okay, so there are several systems are there. Control system auxiliary controllers are there. Say I have listed here the frequency and power frequency controller will be there. Stabilization of the AC ties will be there. The emergency control will be there, and also we will have reactive power control. The reactive power control will be come into the picture when there will be a particularly when there will be a weak AC system was there. Okay, and also there will be a need for the subsynchronous damping control is also required. So in addition to the normal controllers, so we should have so many auxiliary controllers are associated with this particular system. Okay, so which we can call it as a higher order controllers. Finally, let me conclude with this VSC based HVDC link. Okay, in this case, the normally in compared with the classical HVDC system, we are supposed to now we are supposed to move on towards this particular voltage source converter based HVDC link. So this is having so many. This is what the recent advancements. Nowadays we are going with this VSC based HVDC link. Okay, because of this particular configuration will definitely witness that it will avoid the commutation failures. So because of the reason we are nowadays we are moving to the VSC based HVDC link, because as I given a very good comparison of this classical system and also HVDC system with voltage source converter, when you go through these comparison of all when you compare this particular points, then we can able to understand the importance of this particular VSC based HVDC link. Okay, the very important thing is we are having a self commutation process will be there in the case of HVDC VSC system, and also there will be a PWP. There are several other control systems also incorporated in this. When you're speaking about this VSC based HVDC link, it will be having three different level of controls. It is an advanced system where it involves 3 level of controls are there. Say for instance, we will have a PWM control is there, and also we'll have a converter control will be there, and also we will have the system control. So each and every control will be having its own control functions to be performed for the effective operation. Okay, but the only disadvantage we are having with this particular HVDC VSC system is the overall cost will be supposed to be very high. But anyhow, considering the operating performance, this HVDC VSC will be having a very good advantages compared to that of the classical system, and also we can also see here that the reactive power control is also possible in this particular system. Okay, so these are all some of the advantages it will be associated with this HVDC based the VSC based HVDC link. This I can conclude my presentation of the HVDC control of HVDC converter and system as a whole.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, your presentation is very, very useful to us. We can able to recall much more things. Really,
Okay.
very useful to us, sir.
Okay.
Faculty said, are you want to raise any question?
Yes, please.
So, Gobi,
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
is there any method to control the internal voltage?
Yeah, there are two different methods are there for controlling the internal voltages, because the direct current can be controlled by controlling the difference between the internal voltages. So there are two different methods are there to control the internal voltages. Say there are grid control technique is there, and also there will be a control of alternating voltage. These are the two methods by which we can able to control the internal voltages. When we speak about the grid control, it is supposed to be very rapid one, where the control can be happened within 1 to 10 milliseconds, 100 milliseconds, something like that. And when we are going for the control of alternating voltages on the other side of the inverter or rectifier, then we have to go for doing the tap changing with the help of the mechanical switches. But it will be a time consuming process. It is a slow process where it will consume about 5 to 6 seconds for each and every step. Okay, so it's preferable we can go with the grid control technique for internal voltage control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall we end the session?
Okay, yes, sir. I would like to thank Dr. Karthik and Dr. Arivalagan sir for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And also I would like to thank all the participants for their patient hearing. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.